Be funny if we both got it wrong, eh? If I did the good thing and you did the bad one.
No. Wouldn't be funny at all.
I'm Sharronda Williams, and welcome to Prime Video Recaps. Welcome to Prime Video Recaps, where I will be recapping some of our favorite Prime Video original titles in order for you to catch up before binging a new season. With the new season of Good Omens premiering Season 2 on July 28th, I thought you might need a little reminder of what happened in Season 1 of Good Omens. With Armageddon just days away, the armies of heaven and hell are amassing and the four horsemen are ready to ride. Aziraphale, an angel sent from heaven and who is quite fond of humans, and Crowley, a demon who enjoys fast cars, rock and roll, and causing mobile phone networks to fail, have agreed to join forces and find the missing Antichrist and to stop the war that would end everything. Based on the best-selling novel by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, Good Omens follows an unlikely duo in their quest to save the world. We start 6,000 years earlier, after the beginning of creation, in the Garden of Eden. The serpent, a disguised Crowley, tricks Adam and Eve into eating the apple of the forbidden fruit. They are cast out of the garden for disobeying orders, but Aziraphale gives them his flaming sword to protect them. We then go to the present day, but 11 years earlier, where two demons, Duke of Hell Hastert and Duke of Hell Ligger, are lurking in the dark, waiting on Crowley to arrive. They are meeting to hand Crowley the key to the beginning of Armageddon, a baby. Aziraphale is out to dinner when his boss Gabriel arrives and tells him about Crowley's new mission. We are introduced to Deirdre and Arthur Young from Oxfordshire, village of Tadfield. Deirdre is currently in labor and they are headed to St. Burrell so she can give birth. On the same night, another couple, Harriet and American diplomat Thaddeus Dowling, who is only present virtually, are also in labor. St. Burrell's is a cover by the Satanic Nuns of Chattering Order of St. Burrell. Their order was created specifically to carry out the plan to switch Dowling's baby with Satan's baby that Crowley is currently on his way to deliver. However, there is a wrench thrown into the plan as the Youngs weren't originally expected until a week later. Crowley is given the wrong room number, and this leads to Satan's child being placed with the wrong set of parents. Instead of going to the intended location of the Dowlings, the baby was instead placed with the Youngs. The Youngs named their child Adam, and the Dowlings named their baby Warlock. The Duke of Hell Hastert tells Mother Superior that their order has been dissolved and destroys St. Burrell's with fire. Crowley calls Aziraphale and tells them that they need to meet and talk about Armageddon. Crowley confirms to Aziraphale that he delivered the Antichrist to begin Armageddon. Crowley reminds Aziraphale of everything that he would lose if he allows Armageddon to happen in the next 11 years. Crowley wants to help him stop the end of the world, but he doesn't want to. Aziraphale doesn't want to interrupt the divine plan, but Crowley finds a way for him to help without disobeying orders, so he agrees. Crowley meets with his boss Lord Beelzebub to give an update on Warlock and tells him that the boy is growing to be evil. Aziraphale tells Gabriel that he is doing a good job of leading Adam away from the darkness. He commends him for trying to get Adam to do good, but he will ultimately fail, leading them to the end of the world. Fast forward to the present day, exactly 6 days before the end of the world, Crowley tells Aziraphale about the Hellhound being sent to Warlock. Once the boy names the Hellhound, it will set off the events of Armageddon. Crowley and Aziraphale appear in disguise at Warlock's birthday party, but they never see the Hellhound. They then discover that they have had the wrong boy the entire time. It was Adam who was the Antichrist. Adam is playing with his friends who go by the them. Adam's friends consist of Pepper, Brian, and Wensleydale. The Hellhound appears and spots Adam and adjusts itself to the dog of Adam's desires, and Adam names him Dog, thus beginning the end of the world. In Soho, London, just 2 days until the end of the world, Gabriel and Seldafon visit Aziraphale at his bookstore. Gabriel tells him everything is going according to the divine plan. Now the four horsemen of the apocalypse, death, famine, pollution, and war, have been summoned. Crowley receives a message from the Duke of Hell Hastert and the Duke of Hell Ligger. They have arranged for the Antichrist to be taken to the Middle East, and the four horsemen are on their final ride. The summoner of the four horsemen is an international expressman, since this job is now outsourced. The first horseman we see is War, who has quickly turned a peaceful treaty signing into chaos. A sword is delivered to her and she makes her way to her final mission. 360 years prior in Lancashire, England, in 1656, the last witch burning is about to begin. Agnes Nutter is the witch who will soon be burned. Agnes already knew this was the day she would be burned, and she takes the town with her as there is an explosion that takes out those at her burning. She leaves a book and box behind to be given to her daughter and son-in-law, John and Virtue de device. The book is called The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter. Agnes knew of the future, and this book included all of her prophecies that will eventually come true in human history. These events also include those of the Armageddon. 11 years prior to the present day in Malibu, California, descendants of Agnes, Anathema Device, and her mother are studying her book, and it is prophesied that Anathema will be the one to save the world. In Dorking, Surrey, Thou shalt not commit adultery Pulsifers, descendant Newton Pulsifer has another failed experiment. Present-day Newton has grown up and has a new job, but is quickly let go after his terrible luck with computers and just life in general. Anathema is headed to the UK to carry out her mission. Newton meets Shadwell, a witchfinder sergeant, and Shadwell recruits him. Anathema arrives in Jasmine Cottage, Tadfield, just 2 days before the world ends. Newton has an interesting run-in with Madame Tracy, as he is there to meet with Shadwell. Crowley and Aziraphale are off to find the missing Antichrist. Wensleydale, Pepper, Brian, and Adam are in Tadfield, and they discuss that a new witch is in town. The them run into Anathema in the woods, but she doesn't realize who Adam is since she is looking for a beastly hellhound. Crowley and Aziraphale go back to St. Burrow's, and he runs into the nun he gave the Antichrist to that night. She tells him about the baby mix-up, but it doesn't lead them any closer in their search. They end up hitting Anathema with Crowley's car. They give her a ride home, but she ends up leaving Agnes Nutter's book in Crowley's car. Aziraphale discovers the book in Crowley's car, and he begins to read and study it. Aziraphale gets a lead from the book and discovers where the Antichrist is. In the Garden of Eden, 4004 BC, Aziraphale is questioned by God about the flaming sword he was given. 3004 BC in Mesopotamia, Aziraphale and Crowley see each other again and are present for the building of Noah's Ark. In 33 AD, Golgotha, they meet again at Jesus' crucifixion. 8 years later in Rome, they meet once again at a bar. In the Kingdom of Wessex, 537 AD, where Crowley comes up with an idea to lie on their reports to heaven and hell, but Aziraphale is offended by the idea of lying. In 1601 at the Globe Theatre, they agree that one will go to different places and do both the tempting and spreading peace, since their bosses are not double-checking their work. 1793 Paris, France, Aziraphale is about to be beheaded, but Crowley comes in and saves him. 1862 St. James Park, Crowley asks Aziraphale for holy water, but he tells him no. 1941 London, he is providing the first edition copies of books about prophecies to Mr. Goldzier and Mr. Harmony, who are working for Hitler. They ask about the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, but he tells them that he is unable to locate them. They turn on Aziraphale and try to kill him, but Captain Rose Montgomery of British military intelligence comes in to save him until he realizes he has been crossed again by her. Crowley comes in to his rescue, risking his feet to save him on consecrated ground. 1976 in Soho, London, Crowley is meeting with Lance Corporal Shadwell and others about a job to rob a church, but Shadwell wants to recruit them for the Witchfinder Army as a donor. Aziraphale shows up and tells Crowley to not go through with it because the holy water would destroy him. Instead, Aziraphale brings the holy water to him. Friday, one day before the world is set to end, Aziraphale wants to tell Gabriel about the mix-up. Adam sees Anathema destroying things in her yard, and she is still upset about losing her family's book. Adam offers to help her find the book. Adam asks Anathema if she's a witch, and she says no. Crowley and Shadwell meet in the present day, and he wants Shadwell to look for the Antichrist. Aziraphale meets with Gabriel, Uriel, Archangel Michael, and Sandalphon to discuss the mix-up of the Antichrist. Aziraphale calls Shadwell and asks him to watch the Antichrist, Adam Young. Newton tells Shadwell about the town he found unusual weather patterns, which happens to be Tadfield, where Adam Young is. Dr. Raven Sable, aka Famine, one of the four horsemen, is about to launch a new food called Chow in Iowa. He receives a package with the weathering scales, and he heads to England to carry out his mission. Crowley and Aziraphale get into an argument and end their friendship while Adam's thoughts and dreams may be coming to reality. Adam is still dreaming things into reality without knowing it is coming true. It is now Saturday, the last day of the world, and Aziraphale has gone to Gabriel again to see if he can stop Armageddon from happening, but he doesn't want to change a thing. Gabriel asks Aziraphale about the flaming sword God gave him. The International Expressman Leslie is going to deliver the last two packages to the final horseman. He delivers the next package, which is a crown to Pollution, the third of the four horsemen. The driver receives a note which from his expression seems to be ominous. He steps into the middle of the road and is hit and killed by a truck, and this is how he delivers his final package, a message to the final horseman, death. Archangel Michael has been investigating Aziraphale from their previous conversation, and it was discovered that Crowley and Aziraphale have been in communication with one another. Michael is further investigating their connection with the Duke of Hell Ligor, who Michael has told to investigate Crowley. Newton meets with Shadwell to get his new Witchfinder item so he can go to locate Adam. As Newton is headed to find Adam, he sees a UFO land. Adam's thoughts are now becoming reality. Newton gets into a car accident as Agnes prophesies, and the kids bring Newton to Anathema's house. Adam sees the picture of Satan at her house, and he hears voices saying, "Make it real." Ambassador Dowling and his family arrive in Megiddo, and they begin to meet with the Duke of Hell, Hastur. Once he realizes the dog isn't there, he realizes that something is wrong. Newton wakes up, and Anathema fills him in on what is going on and who he is a descendant of. He tells her where to find Adam. Crowley finds Aziraphale and tells him that his bosses in Hell figured out what he did, but Aziraphale won't run away with him. The Duke of Hell, Ligor, and Hastur arrive at Crowley's place to end him. He uses the holy water to kill the Duke of Hell, Ligor. Crowley tricks Hastur and traps him in his vintage answering machine. Archangel Michael, Uriel, and Sandalphon pay a visit to Aziraphale, and it isn't a friendly one. Adam forces his friends to follow him. Newton and Anathema set out to find Adam, but due to the weather, they are trapped inside. As they seek shelter from the tornado, they share a kiss. Aziraphale reaches out to a higher authority, and Metatron appears. He tries to get them to stop the end of the world, but he is not successful in convincing them to stop. Shadwell shows up and accuses Aziraphale of being a demon. Aziraphale accidentally steps into the circle and is taken to heaven, and his bookstore is now on fire. Crowley goes to the bookstore and sees it on fire. He finds Agnes Nutter's Book of Predictions. Aziraphale arrives in heaven, and he does not have his body or the flaming sword he gave away. He asks to be returned to Earth, but he doesn't have a body. He sends himself back to Earth. Aziraphale appears before Crowley as a ghost since he has been discorporated. He tells him that the store burned down, but he shows him the book he needs. They are going to head to Tadfield Air Base to stop the end of the world. In the meantime, Aziraphale needs to find a host body, and the four horsemen need to find each other and ride together again. The four horsemen meet at a diner. They begin their ride 100 miles to begin their journey to the end of the world. Aziraphale inhabits Madame Tracy's body while she is in the middle of a seance. Shadwell awakes from his nap and sees that Aziraphale is in Madame Tracy. Aziraphale tells Shadwell that he needs to kill the Antichrist. Adam is still coming into his power. The M25, which Crowley had helped turn into a disaster years earlier, has now turned into a ring of internal fire. The Duke of Hell, Hastur, is freed from the answering machine. Hastur finds Crowley in his car, and Crowley is determined to get through the ring of fire, so he drives through it. The fire kills Hastur, but not Crowley, because he has an imagination that keeps him safe. Adam's friends at Hellhound are scared and want to abandon him. He seems to come back to his normal self and wants to fix what he has started with his friends. The four horsemen arrive at the airbase disguised as military. They begin the process of starting the end of the world. Adam and his friends arrive at the airbase in addition to Crowley, Aziraphale, Madame Tracy, and Shadwell. Crowley's beloved car explodes, which brings Crowley down to his knees since he has had it for over 90 years. Aziraphale tells Crowley to snap out of it. Aziraphale makes the soldier disappear before he shoots them so they can go into the airbase. Anathema and Newton make it into the airbase and discover the world is at the brink of war. Aziraphale tries to shoot Adam, but Madame Tracy stops him. Adam tells them that they should be two people, and Aziraphale gets his body back. Adam and his friends square off against the four horsemen. Pepper kills war, Brian kills pollution, and Wensleydale kills famine, all with the flaming sword. Death took his leave and promised he will be back. Newton was able to use his bad luck for good, as he was able to stop the computers from releasing nuclear weapons. Gabriel and Beelzebub appear, and they tell Adam Armageddon must restart. Crowley and Aziraphale are able to stall them until Satan finds out what happened. Satan appears, and he is not happy. Adam confronts Satan and tells him he isn't his father and sends him away. The International Expressman comes to pick up the items from the four horsemen from Aziraphale and Crowley. Crowley offers for Aziraphale to stay at his place, and Crowley reminds him that they have their own side now. Since Adam reset the world, things that were broken are now restored, including Aziraphale's bookstore and Crowley's car. Anathema and her now boyfriend, Newton, are happy together, and Madame Tracy invites Shadwell to dinner at her place, and they decide to be together. Newton and Anathema receive a box from Agnes delivered by Giles Batycombe. Inside is another book of predictions that Agnes Nutter wrote for the world that is to come. She later decides to burn the pages. Aziraphale and Crowley meet again for dessert, and they both confirm neither have heard from their former bosses. They see death appear and then disappear, and Aziraphale is kidnapped. Hastur hits Crowley as he tries to run after him. In Hell, Crowley's trial is currently in session, and Crowley arrives before Beelzebub, Hastur, Dagon, and Hell's usher. Crowley is found guilty of his crimes. The archangel Michael appears with holy water in Hell, while a demon from Hell appears with fire for Aziraphale. Crowley is sentenced to extinction by holy water. Gabrielle orders Aziraphale to go into the flame, but he is unaffected as Crowley is not affected by the holy water. This is because they switch places, so they will leave them alone. The two enjoy their freedom with a nice lunch for two as Season 1 comes to an end. Don't forget, Good Omens Season 2 premieres July 28th on Prime Video.